Okay, hi guys. So here we are, just going on to our last lesson of standard deviation. So we'll go through our starter, but again, it's just the same comparison that we were doing yesterday, just an extra example for us to do the sentences and check, and go through the question 3 and 4 that I spoke about the other day. So our first question that we're going to do here is solve the equation 2x squared minus 5x plus 1 equals 0. Now, anytime we get a solve question, we've got any form of quadratic, then we've got two options. We can factorize or we can use a quadratic formula, but this part here, 2 decimal places, it means you need to use your quadratic formula. Now, you are good, but even I am not good enough to factorize to 2 decimal places. If I can't factorize to 2 decimal places, neither can you, but thankfully we don't need to. So we're going to have here, find our a, so a equals 2, b equals, now be careful, be -5 rather than +5, and c equals 1. So double check when you're writing out this quadratic formula, double check that you're writing out correctly. So it should be minus b plus or minus the square root of b squared, take 4ac, all over 2a, an unnecessarily large square root there. There we go. And then we're going to substitute in our numbers, so it's going to be minus. Now, anytime I've got a negative, I'm going to put it in a bracket so that I do not forget about it. So minus 5 over minus 5 all squared, take away 4, times a is 2 and c is 1, all divided by 2 times 2. Lovely. Right, our next step here is we're going to simplify this just as far as possible. So here I've got -5, so I'm going to change that to +5 plus or minus the square root of. If we work out our discriminant or our point inside our square root, -5 all squared, just like when we do our squares and our standard deviation, they have to be positive. So it's going to be 25, take away 8, which is 17. And then all divided by 4. And then we're going to split that up. So we're going to have x equals 5 plus root 17 all over 4, or x equals 5 minus root 17 all divided by 4. Now, if I put this in my calculator, I get 2.280 and so on. Now, because our question specified, give your answer to 2 decimal places, I need to show my unrounded value first. And then in this case, because there's a 0, it will round to 2.28. And then 5 subtract root 17, all divided by 4, is 0.219 and so on. Or if I round that, it's actually going to be here 0.22 because this 9 is going to push that 1 up to a 2. So we'll get 0.22. Now I do appreciate that you've done all the quadratic formulae from home and all those questions, but that's why I'm trying to do as many as possible when it comes to starters and things, just to get us used to it. Now this we've already been through. We know how to calculate the formula for standard deviation. We should be doing that now. Remember, you don't need to remember it, but you do need to know what everything stands for. And this is what we started working on yesterday. This is what we're still going to work on today. So example number 3. Now what I would suggest for this one, you've already got 2 full written examples in your jotter. So maybe rather than writing out all the words and the questions for part A, you could always just write the sentences in, or just do it in your normal class jotter. It's completely your choice. You do have 2 full examples anyway, and so we'll go through it now. Just like before, I'm just going to give you the answer to part A. So what I would like you to do at this moment in time is pause, try it for yourself, because I want to make sure, remember this is a 4-mark question. This is our main part, okay? That is 2/3 of the marks on offer here. And if you can get 2/3 or even half of the marks in every single question, that's a pass. Okay, so we want to be getting as many as possible. So please do pause, try it for yourself, and then just double check your answer. So for x bar, or our mean, we're going to have 168, all divided by 7. So on average, we've got 24 here. And our standard deviation we should get to the point where we get 294, all divided by 7, subtract 1, which is 7 on the nose. Exactly 7. Right, so part B, this is where I want us to practice. So when we were looking at part A, it's talking about during the lunch hour, the number of birds that visit a bird table. So we have Luke and we have Erin. So the first thing I'm going to do, I like to write down these actual numbers as comparisons. I think it makes it slightly easier. So X bar for Luke was 24 birds. And X bar for Erin, she had a mean of 25. And then Luke's standard deviation, we worked it out in the starter, was 7. And Erin's standard deviation was 5. So sentence number 1, we need context, we need to compare our averages, and then we need a comparison. So straight away, I'm writing on average. Now, because we're looking at the number of birds visiting the bird table, we can say on average, here we've got the number 24 and the number 25. Luke has less birds visiting his table. And then we want to say than Erin, as 24 is less than 25. Remember, it doesn't matter what order that you do your comparison in. You could easily have said it the other way around. Erin has more birds visiting her bird table than Luke, as 25 is greater than 24. And then we're speaking about the number of birds, so that's our context here. The number of birds visiting. Now, have a look. Here, Erin has a smaller standard deviation, so it means she's more consistent, and Luke has a higher standard deviation, which means he's less consistent. So the number of birds visiting Erin were more consistent than Luke. And then again, as 5 is less than 7, or you could do it again the other way around, it doesn't matter. The number of birds visiting Luke was less consistent, or were less consistent than Erin, as 7 is greater than 5. So that's the only question that I'm going to do. Again, if you can't actually read your writing, apologies for that. Listen to what I'm saying, write it down as you go, or try your own, and then get us to double check whatever way. Now yesterday, I say yesterday, but your last assignment, you should have done 1 and 2. So today we want to be doing 3 and 4. So we've got 4 here, number 3, number 4, the same thing. You have to work out the standard deviation for both in each one, and then use that to compare them and look at your actual context. Now this is actually a relatively important skill, so if you're struggling, please let us know. Even send us the numbers you've got, just like we've got here. If you send me this and say, Miss, my X bar for this one's this, and my standard deviation is this, and so on. However, does a sentence make sense? I'm struggling to get a sentence together or something like that. It just makes it much easier for me to get the help that you need straight away, rather than having to bounce back and forth and say, what are you talking about? Where exactly do you need help, and so on. Lovely. Well, hopefully I'll hear from you. If not, I'll make the assumption you're doing fine.